Without question, every parent wants the very best for their children. With that being said, how do you know if the health information you're getting for your kids is accurate? Here to talk about that is Dr. Susan Maples. She is the author of the book, Brave Parent, Raising Happy, Healthy Kids in Today's World Against All Odds. So first of all, Dr. Maples, we visited before. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. Appreciate being here.
Okay, you're going to help me knock out some myths, because I do think because things change so quickly in the medical world, there's some misconceptions, there's some old wives' tales. Let's talk about some of the myths. I'll let you lead it from here.
Wow. Well, I think one of the myths we could just take out, sort of post-COVID. One of the myths is that kids do better when they're living in very clean, sanitized environments and using hand sanitizers whenever they can. And that is really a myth. We really want to acknowledge the fact that the microbial diversity, for every human cell, we have 11 bugs living on us and in us. I know that might gross you out. I always think of this as sort of like Linus and the Snoopies were kind of walking around in a cloud of bugs. But we want a bigger diversity to avoid more families of bugs, to avoid allergies, autoimmune problems, and asthma. And those have all been hugely skyrocketing. And so on the increase in allergies, we want to make sure to try to decrease increase the diversity of the bugs by decreasing the over-sanitization of our environment. That sort of makes sense. We want kids to play outside and touch everything except animal feces. And when they come in, wash with soap and water. We don't really need the alcohol absorbing into the system. That's, of course, taken up by the liver. We also don't really need to buying anything that kills 99% of all germs. We want to make sure that we're increasing the diversity of the foods that we eat. 75% of our foods are coming from only like 5 species of animals and 12 species of plants. We need food that is closer to the source, less ultra-processed. And that brings me to another myth, which is it's okay to have dogs and cats around, especially dogs. Dogs bring the outside in. We want more outdoor play, but we want to be able to have kids, even in early life, being exposed to dogs.
Interesting. Okay. Here's something else that I heard the other day from an expert, and I was curious about your thoughts. They said, don't worry if you have an obese child. They'll grow out of it. Let them enjoy their life, that kind of thing. Do you buy into that?
I think a lot of people want to tag obesity on, it's inherited. My dad was obese. My grandfather was obese. Really, we inherit the behaviors, the lifestyle. We inherit the waking up with the, sugar and creamer in your coffee and the donut in the morning and the Mountain Dew at noon. And we have a tremendous overabundance of sugar consumption, 22 to 40 teaspoons a day, and white flour. So anytime, that sort of turns to glucose in our bodies. And no, I believe it's lifestyle, and I think that we're very clear about that. I've rarely seen an obese, sick adult that wasn't a child in the pipeline coming along that way, and we sort of overlook it in children. But obesity brings with it the risk of cardiovascular disease, everything. Cardiovascular disease, diabetes, reflux, obstructive sleep apnea, even cancer, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. 25% of kids have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, having never tasted a drop of alcohol just from the fructose in their food. So all of that comes. It's not just the obesity. It's not just the overweight. It's all of the health complications that come with that, and it is lifestyle related.
Dr. Maples, I have another one. This may seem trivial, but I have a friend of mine who is a new mother, and she's heard all this controversy about a pacifier. Yes or no? Is it a good or bad thing to give a baby a pacifier?
We definitely are not big proponents of pacifiers. We want to grow a bigger tongue box so that we can bring the tongue up to the palate and allow nasal breathing forever and ever, reducing the risk of obstructive sleep apnea. A child's mouth is so malleable that if you can imagine, you're putting that little rubber ball up against the palate with the tongue pushing up on it, and it shapes the palate around that object, and the cheeks sort of press that narrow palate, or narrow the palate by pressing inward, vaulting the palate, which pushes right up into the nasal cavity, so that the roof of the mouth is really the floor of the nose. And then with every suck, the pacifier sucks back on the front of the mouth, so it really thwarts the anterior development, the front development of the jawbones. So yes, we are not big proponents of pacifiers.
Okay, here's something I want you to address. Kids don't like limits. They don't like rules. Are those a good thing? How should we adjust as parents?
Well, I could ask you the same thing. Most of us realize, if we're healthy, well-adjusted adults, that limits are important, not just because kids really need structure, need right and wrong, need limits, but they also, they thrive on that. But we're also teaching them to be good citizens. I mean, we abide by limits in our world, right? We have laws, we have, manners, we have, structures in our workplace environments where we need to comply, and it teaches kids how to be good citizens, how to not to lie, cheat, and steal, and how not to bully. And they actually do much better when you have clearly defined structures around it. We're not talking about parents being tyrants where every little rule is being punished, but or breaking every rule is being punished. But the idea that we have set forward, what we would like a child to be able to adhere to in terms of the rules of the house.
Dr. Maples, before I let you go, where can our viewers find your book? I think your information is very solid. Where can they go?
Thank you. Yeah, you could go to beabraveparent.com or look for the book Brave Parent, Raising Healthy, Happy Kids Against All Odds in Today's World, on Amazon or wherever you buy books, and also look for the Brave Parent podcast. That would be great.
Dr. Maples, again, thank you for your time. Really appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you, John. Bye-bye now.
Coming up here, okay, I'm looking forward to talking to Marissa. She is the headliner of the show. She is the star, and she's going to talk about a family trip to Gatlinburg. We're getting close to spring break. She's coming up next on Wade Listens.